My grandson called me at 5 a.m. and said, "Grandma, don't wear your red coat today." I asked why, and with a trembling voice, he said, "You'll understand soon." At 9 a.m., I went to catch the bus. When I arrived, I froze in place the moment I saw what was unfolding there. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from. The phone rang at exactly 5 in the morning. I know because I was already awake, sitting in my grandmother's rocking chair by the window, watching the darkness slowly surrender to dawn. At 63, sleep comes in fragments now, scattered like puzzle pieces I can't quite fit together anymore. The farmhouse creaked around me, those familiar sounds of old wood settling that I'd known my entire life. When I saw Danny's name on the screen, my heart lurched. My grandson never called at this hour. Never. "Grandma?" His voice was barely a whisper, trembling like a candle flame in the wind. "Danny? Sweetheart, what's wrong?" "Grandma, please, you have to listen to me." There was something in his tone that made my blood run cold. Not panic exactly, but something worse. Fear mixed with urgency. "Don't wear your red coat today. Please." I glanced at the coat rack near the front door, where my cherry red winter coat hung like it did every morning during this Montana winter. I'd bought it 3 years ago in Billings, a splurge I'd justified because it made me visible on the dark rural roads. Safe. "Danny, what are you talking about?" "Just please, Grandma, don't wear it. Wear anything else. Promise me." "You're scaring me, honey. Where are you? Are you all right?" "I can't explain right now. You'll understand soon. Just promise me. Please." The line went dead. I sat there, the phone cooling against my ear, staring at that red coat. The house felt different suddenly, as if something had shifted in the walls themselves. Outside, the first birds began their morning songs, oblivious to the dread creeping through my chest. I didn't wear the red coat. Instead, I pulled on my old brown jacket, the one with the worn elbows that I usually saved for working in the barn. Something in Danny's voice had reached deep into my grandmother's instinct, that ancient knowing that told me to trust him without question. At 9 o'clock, I walked down our long gravel driveway toward the county road where the bus stopped. I'd been taking the same bus into town every Tuesday and Friday for the past 5 years, ever since my husband Frank passed and I'd sold our second car. The routine was comforting. Bus at 9:15, grocery shopping, lunch at Betty's Diner, home by 3. But today, there was no bus. Instead, there were police cars. 4 of them, their lights painting the gray morning in urgent reds and blues. Yellow tape stretched across the bus stop shelter, that simple 3-sided structure where I'd waited countless times, reading my book or watching the wheat fields roll away toward the horizon. Sheriff Tom Brennan saw me approaching and immediately stepped forward, his hand raised. "Mrs. Alexia Foster, you need to stay back, please." "Tom, what happened? I need to catch the bus." "There won't be a bus this morning, Alexia." His face was grave, the lines around his eyes deeper than I remembered. "We'd gone to high school together, 45 years ago. There's been an incident." "What kind of incident?" He hesitated, glancing back at the crime scene investigators moving around the shelter. "A body was found here this morning, about 6 a.m. The world tilted slightly. "A body? Who?" "We haven't identified her yet, but Alexia." He paused, his eyes searching mine. "She was wearing a red coat, cherry red, just like yours." My knees went weak. Tom caught my elbow, steadying me. "Are you all right? You've gone pale. I need to sit down." He guided me to his patrol car and helped me into the passenger seat. Through the windshield, I could see them photographing something near the shelter, a shape covered with a white tarp. "Tom, Danny called me this morning, at 5. He told me not to wear my red coat today." The sheriff's expression changed instantly, shifting from concerned neighbor to focused lawman. "Your grandson called you? What exactly did he say?" I repeated the conversation, word for word. Tom pulled out his notebook, writing quickly. "Where is Danny now?" "I don't know. He didn't say. He sounded terrified, Tom." "When did you last see him?" "Sunday dinner. 3 days ago. He seemed fine then. Normal." But even as I said it, I wondered if that was true. Had he seemed normal, or had I been too caught up in the usual family chaos to notice? Sunday dinner at the farmhouse was a tradition I'd maintained for 30 years. My son Robert, his wife Vanessa, and Danny all came without fail. But lately, the meals had been tense. Vanessa had been pushing me to sell the farm, to move into a retirement community in town. She'd brought brochures, floor plans, financial projections. "Mom, you're not getting any younger," Robert had said, parroting his wife's words. "This place is too much for you to manage alone." But it wasn't too much. It was my life. Every room held memories of Frank, of raising Robert, of summers with Danny running through the fields. The thought of leaving made me physically ill. "Mrs. Foster?" A young detective approached, a woman with sharp eyes and dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. "I'm Detective Roxanne Myrick. I understand your grandson may have information about this incident?" I explained again about Danny's call. She exchanged glances with Tom. "We need to speak with Danny as soon as possible. Do you have any way to reach him?" "I can try calling." But when I did, it went straight to voicemail. I tried 3 more times. Nothing. "Does he live with you?" Detective Myrick asked. "No, he lives with my son and daughter-in-law in town. He's 19, studying at the community college. We'll need their address." I gave it to her, a sick feeling growing in my stomach. What had Danny gotten himself into? And why did he know about this woman before anyone else? The detective's radio crackled. A voice said something about forensics and preliminary findings. Myrick stepped away to respond, leaving me alone with Tom. "Alexia, I need to ask you something." Tom's voice was low, almost apologetic. "When's the last time you wore that red coat?" "Yesterday. I wore it into town for my book club meeting." "And how many people would know you wear it regularly?" The question hit me like ice water. "Everyone, I suppose. I wear it every time I go out. It's distinctive. That's why I bought it." "And who specifically would know you take the bus on Tuesday and Friday mornings from this stop?" "My family, the other regular bus riders. Betty at the diner? Half the town, probably." My voice was rising. "Tom, what are you suggesting?" "I'm not suggesting anything yet. But someone was killed here, wearing a coat identical to yours, at the exact location where you would normally be standing, and your grandson warned you to stay away." The implications crashed over me like a wave. Someone had wanted to kill me, and somehow, impossibly, Danny had known. Tom's radio erupted with static and urgent voices. He pressed it to his ear, his face darkening. "Say that again," he said into the radio. More static, a voice I couldn't make out. Tom looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes that made my heart stop. Not just concern now, but suspicion. "Alexia, I need you to come down to the station with me." "Why? What's happening?" "That body. We just identified her through her phone." "Who is she?" Tom's jaw tightened. "Her name was Rachel Morrison. She worked at County Records downtown. And according to her phone logs, she'd been in contact with your grandson Danny multiple times over the past 2 weeks." The morning suddenly felt colder than any Montana winter I'd ever known. "There's something else," Tom continued. "We found a document in her coat pocket. It's a property deed, for your farm." "That's impossible. The farm's been in my family for 4 generations. There's no question about the deed." "Alexia, this deed is dated last month. And according to the document, you signed the property over to your son Robert and his wife Vanessa." "That's insane. I would never—" "The signature looks authentic. County Records has a copy on file, officially recorded 3 weeks ago." The world spun. I gripped the car door handle to steady myself. "I didn't sign anything. Tom, you have to believe me. I would never give up this farm." But even as I said it, doubt crept in. Had I signed something without realizing? Vanessa was always putting papers in front of me during dinner, asking me to sign updates to insurance policies, tax documents, medical forms. She worked in real estate. She handled paperwork for a living. Had she tricked me into signing away my own home? "We'll sort this out," Tom said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Right now, I need you to come with me. We need to take your statement, and we need to find Danny." As I stood to follow him, I caught movement from the corner of my eye. A car was parked about 50 yards down the road, partially hidden by a stand of cottonwoods. Dark blue sedan. The engine was running. I could see the exhaust in the cold air. And behind the wheel, watching us, was my daughter-in-law, Vanessa. Our eyes met across the distance. She didn't wave, didn't smile, just stared at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Cold, calculating, almost triumphant. Then she put the car in gear and drove away. "Tom," I said quietly, "I think I know who might have answers about that deed, but I don't think you're going to like what we find." The sheriff's station smelled like burnt coffee and old paperwork. I'd been there twice before, once when Frank reported our tractor stolen 30 years ago, and once to renew my carry permit for the shotgun I kept in the barn for coyotes. Never as a witness, never connected to a murder. Tom settled me in an interview room with pale green walls and a mirror I knew was one-way glass. Detective Myrick sat across from me, a recording device between us. "Mrs. Foster, I need you to walk me through everything again, every detail about Danny's call." I repeated it all, but this time I forced myself to remember more. The background noise on Danny's call. There had been something. Traffic, maybe? Or was it wind? No, it was water. Running water. Like a creek or river. "He wasn't calling from home," I said. "There was water in the background. He was outside somewhere." Myrick made a note. "Your grandson is 19. Does he have a history of getting into trouble?" "Never. Danny's a good boy. He's studying engineering at the community college. He works part-time at the hardware store. He's never even had a speeding ticket." "What's his relationship like with his parents?" I hesitated. This was family business, private matters, but a woman was dead, and Danny was missing. His father, my son Robert, works long hours at the insurance agency. He's not around much. And Vanessa, I chose my words carefully. Vanessa is very focused on appearances, on status. Danny and she have clashed lately. About what? About me. About the farm. Vanessa wants me to sell it, move into assisted living. Danny thinks I should keep it. They've argued about it at Sunday dinners. Myrick leaned forward. "Mrs. Foster, I need to ask you directly. Do you believe your daughter-in-law could be involved in forging that property deed?" Before I could answer, the door opened. Tom stepped in, his expression grim. "Alexia, your son is here. He's demanding to see you." "Robert? Let him in." He brought a lawyer. "Alexia, they're saying you shouldn't answer any more questions without legal representation of your own." My stomach dropped. Why would I need a lawyer? I'm the victim here. Tom and Myrick exchanged glances. Myrick spoke carefully. "Mrs. Foster, there are some complications. The forged deed, if it is forged, shows your signature. Rachel Morrison, the victim, worked in county records and had access to official documents. And your grandson, who warned you about the murder, has fled. What are you saying?" "I'm saying that some people might interpret this as you being involved in a scheme that went wrong. That maybe you and Danny and Rachel Morrison were working together, and something happened. The accusation hit me like a physical blow. That's ridiculous. Why would I forge a deed to give away my own property? Unless you weren't really giving it away," Myrick said quietly. "Unless this was part of a plan to frame someone else. Your daughter-in-law, perhaps?" "No. Absolutely not. I would never." The door opened again, and Robert burst in, a thin man in an expensive suit trailing behind him. "Mom, don't say another word." My son looked disheveled, his normally neat hair uncombed, his tie loose. "This is Peter Mitchell. He's a criminal defense attorney. We're leaving now." "Robert, I don't need a defense attorney. I haven't done anything wrong." "Mother, a woman is dead. The police think Danny might be involved. And Vanessa just told me about some property deed nonsense. We need to protect ourselves." "Protect ourselves? From what?" Peter Mitchell stepped forward smoothly. "Mrs. Foster, I strongly advise you not to answer any more questions without counsel present. Sheriff, detective, we're done here unless you're charging my client with something." Tom looked uncomfortable. "Alexia's free to go, but we will need to speak with her again." As Mitchell ushered me out, I caught Myrick's eye. She was watching me with an expression I couldn't read. Suspicion? Curiosity? Or something else? In the parking lot, Robert grabbed my arm. "Mom, what have you gotten yourself into?" "Me? Robert, I haven't gotten into anything. Someone tried to kill me this morning. That woman died because she was wearing a coat like mine. That's insane. Who would want to kill you? I looked at him directly. Did you know about that property deed? The one that supposedly transfers the farm to you and Vanessa? His face went pale. What? No. What deed? The one filed at county records 3 weeks ago with my signature on it, giving you and your wife my farm. That's impossible. I never… He stopped, his expression changing. Vanessa. Oh, Vanessa. What about her? She's been after me for months to convince you to sell. She says the farm is sitting on prime development land, that we could make millions if we subdivided it. I told her no. Told her you'd never agree. But she kept pushing. He ran his hand through his hair. You don't think she would actually forge something? Your wife was watching the crime scene this morning, Robert. She was parked down the road just watching. And when she saw me, she drove away. Peter Mitchell interrupted. Mrs. Foster, Mr. Foster, I really think you should continue this conversation somewhere more private. And you should both refrain from making any accusations until we have all the facts. Robert drove me home in silence. The farmhouse looked different somehow, as if seeing it through new eyes. Someone wanted to take this from me. Had killed for it, or tried to. As we pulled up the driveway, I saw another car parked near the barn. Vanessa's white Lexus. What's she doing here? Robert's voice was tight. We found her in my kitchen, going through my filing cabinet. What the hell are you doing? Robert demanded. Vanessa spun around, startled. Her perfectly styled blonde hair didn't move, her makeup flawless despite the early hour. She'd always been beautiful in that calculated way, like a magazine advertisement for suburban success. Robert, I was looking for documents to help your mother. Legal papers, insurance forms, anything that might prove she didn't sign that deed. By breaking into her house and going through her private files? I have a key. Your mother gave it to me years ago for emergencies. I stepped forward, keeping my voice level. Vanessa, did you forge my signature on a property deed? Her face transformed. The mask of concern cracked, revealing something cold underneath. Of course not. How dare you accuse me? After everything I've done for this family, all the times I've tried to help you make sensible decisions? Help me? Or help yourself? Alexia, you're being paranoid. This farm is a burden you can't manage. I've been trying to protect you from yourself. By stealing my property? I haven't stolen anything. Her voice rose, sharp and brittle. But maybe if someone did forge that deed, they were doing you a favor. This place is falling apart. You're falling apart. How long before you fall down those stairs and die alone and no one finds you for days? Robert grabbed her arm. Vanessa, stop it. She jerked away from him. No, I won't stop. Someone needs to tell her the truth. She's clinging to this farm like it's a life raft. But it's actually an anchor dragging her down. Dragging all of us down. Get out, I said quietly. What? Get out of my house. Now. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. Fine. But you should know, Alexia, that deed is legal and binding. I saw the documents myself this morning at county records. Your signature is notarized. Witnessed. Whether you remember signing it or not, you did. And in Montana, a properly executed deed transfer is valid even if the grantor claims they didn't understand what they were signing. How do you know that? Robert asked slowly. She smiled, sharp as a knife. Because I looked it up. Obviously. I work in real estate, remember? I know property law. After she left, Robert sank into a chair at the kitchen table, his head in his hands. I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I believed him. Robert had always been weak, easily led, but not malicious. His father used to joke that Robert was born without a backbone, that he bent whichever way the wind blew hardest. We need to find Danny, I said. The police are looking for him. That's what I'm afraid of. Robert? Danny called to warn me. He saved my life, but now he's running, which means he's afraid of something. Or someone. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Grandma, I'm sorry. I didn't know it would go this far. Meet me at the old mill at midnight. Come alone. They're watching you. I showed Robert. His face went even paler. You can't go. It could be a trap. It's Danny. You don't know that. It could be anyone, but I did know, because the text ended with something only Danny and I would understand. Remember the strawberry summer. The summer Danny was 7, we'd planted strawberries together, an entire patch behind the barn. We'd eaten so many that first harvest that we both got sick. It became our private joke, our code for trust me. I'm going, I said. Then I'm coming with you. No. The message said come alone. Mom, please. Robert, for once in your life, trust me to handle something. My voice was harder than I intended. Your wife is involved in something criminal. Your son is in danger. And someone tried to kill me this morning. I don't have the luxury of being careful anymore. He left reluctantly, making me promise to call him the moment I got back. After his taillights disappeared down the driveway, I sat in the growing darkness, thinking. The old mill was 15 miles away, an abandoned grain mill on the Clearwater River that had shut down 20 years ago. Teenagers went there sometimes to party. Danny had gone there in high school. I'd found beer cans in his car once. But why there? And why midnight? I tried calling Danny's number again, straight to voicemail. At 11:30, I grabbed my flashlight and headed for my truck, the brown jacket instead of the red coat. The night was moonless, thick with clouds threatening snow. As I backed out of the driveway, headlights flicked on behind me. Someone had been waiting in the darkness, parked along the county road. They followed me, keeping a steady distance all the way to the highway. The headlights stayed with me for 12 miles, never closing the distance, never falling back. Professional surveillance, I realized. Not some amateur following too close or hanging too far back. Whoever was behind me knew what they were doing. I considered calling Robert, considered calling Tom, but Danny's message had been explicit. Come alone. And that strawberry summer reference meant he was in real danger, the kind where police involvement might make things worse. 3 miles from the old mill, I made a decision. There was a turnoff ahead, a narrow logging road that cut through state forest land. Frank and I used to take it when we went hunting. It looped back to the main highway about 5 miles south. I killed my headlights and swung onto the logging road, accelerating into the darkness. My truck bounced over ruts and holes, branches scraping the sides. Behind me, I saw the other vehicle's headlights sweep past the turnoff, then brake lights flare red as they realized I'd vanished. I didn't slow down. The forest pressed close on both sides, and without headlights, I was navigating by memory and moonlight that barely penetrated the clouds. My heart hammered against my ribs. The logging road dumped me back onto the highway south of my tail. I waited, engine idling, watching for approaching lights. Nothing. I'd lost them. I took a longer route to the mill, circling through back roads, checking constantly for followers. By the time I pulled into the crumbling parking lot, it was 12:15. The old Clearwater mill rose against the sky like a tombstone. 4 stories of rotting wood and broken windows. The river rushed past it, swollen with snowmelt, the sound filling the darkness. My flashlight beam cut through the night as I approached the main entrance. "Danny?" I called softly. No answer. Just the river and wind through empty spaces. I stepped inside. The floor was covered with debris, broken glass, old equipment, graffiti on every wall. My flashlight found stairs leading up, and I climbed carefully, testing each step. On the second floor, I found him. Danny sat on an overturned crate, his face gaunt in the flashlight beam, eyes red from crying or lack of sleep. He looked like he'd aged 5 years in 3 days. "Grandma," his voice broke. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I rushed to him, pulled him into my arms. He was shaking. "It's okay, sweetheart. Whatever happened, we'll fix it." "No, we can't." "Grandma, I've done something terrible. I helped her. I didn't know, I swear I didn't know it would." He choked on a sob. "Helped who? Vanessa?" He pulled back, wiping his eyes. "Not Vanessa. Rachel. Rachel Morrison. The dead woman." "Tell me everything," I said. The story came out in fragments, words tumbling over each other. 3 months ago, Danny had met Rachel at a coffee shop near campus. She was pretty, funny, smart, 28 years old and working at county records. They'd started dating. "She seemed perfect, Grandma." She said she understood me, understood how I felt about you and the farm. She said her grandmother had lost her property too, that developers had tricked her. Danny, what did you do? She asked me about the farm, about the deed, the legal history. She said she wanted to help protect it, make sure no one could ever take it from you. She worked with property records. She knew how to check everything. My blood ran cold. You gave her access to the farm documents. I thought I was helping. She said she could flag the deed, put protections on it. But then, his voice dropped to a whisper. Last week, I saw her meeting with Vanessa at a restaurant downtown. I followed them, Grandma. I watched them talk for 2 hours. And when I confronted Rachel about it, she laughed. What do you mean she laughed? She said I was just a useful idiot, that Vanessa had hired her months before we even met. That everything, the dating, the relationship, all of it, was planned. She was supposed to get close to me, get information about you and the farm, and help Vanessa forge the deed transfer. The manipulation was breathtaking, calculated, cruel. But why did someone kill her? I asked. Because she got greedy. Danny stood, pacing the small space. Rachel told me that night that she'd demanded more money from Vanessa. A lot more. She said she had copies of everything. The forged signature, emails, proof of the whole scheme. She was going to blackmail Vanessa for years. And Vanessa killed her? I don't know. That's why I warned you about the coat. Rachel called me at 4:30 yesterday morning. She was terrified, crying, saying someone was following her. She said she'd taken your red coat from your mudroom during Sunday dinner. That's why she was wearing it. She was going to meet you at the bus stop, was going to confess everything and give you the proof. But she was scared, Grandma. She said if anything happened to her, I should warn you. And then the line went dead. I sat heavily on a crate, processing. So Rachel was murdered before she could meet me and expose Vanessa. But I don't think it was Vanessa who killed her. Danny pulled something from his jacket pocket. A thumb drive. Rachel gave me this 2 days ago before everything went bad. She said it was insurance. Copies of all the documents, all the emails between her and Vanessa, recordings of phone calls. Have you looked at it? Some of it. Grandma, it's bad. Vanessa forged your signature on multiple documents, not just the deed. There are loan applications, power of attorney forms, even a will. A will? Leaving everything to Robert and her dated 6 months ago. And there's more. His hands shook as he held out the drive. There are emails about hiring someone to make sure you had an accident after the deed transfer was complete. The abandoned mill suddenly felt very cold. Vanessa was going to have me killed. The emails don't use her name. They're coded. Careful. But Rachel knew who it was. She kept records of everything. Danny's eyes were desperate. But here's what I don't understand. The last folder on this drive, it's encrypted. I can't open it. And there's a video file that won't play. It's corrupted or something. Rachel said it was the most important evidence, but I can't access it. I took the thumb drive, turning it over in my hands. We need to give this to the police. No! Grandma, you don't understand. There are cops involved. What? In the emails, Rachel mentions paying off someone in the sheriff's department. Someone who helped file the fake deed, who made sure it looked legitimate. We don't know who. It could be anyone. Tom's face flashed through my mind. My old high school friend. But no, not Tom. He couldn't be. There's something else, Danny said. This morning, after Rachel was killed, I went to her apartment. The door was open. The place was trashed. Someone had searched it, torn it apart. And I found this. He handed me a folded piece of paper. It was a photocopy of a bank statement, Vanessa's bank statement. 2 weeks ago, she'd withdrawn $50,000 in cash. Blood money, I whispered. Payment for Rachel. Or payment for whoever killed her. Maybe both. Danny grabbed my shoulders. Grandma, we have to run, both of us. Take this evidence and disappear until we can figure out who to trust. I'm not running from my own home. Then you're going to die, don't you understand? Vanessa has already killed once. She won't stop until you're dead and that farm is hers. Footsteps echoed from below. Heavy boots on the wooden floor. We froze. Danny killed his flashlight, and I did the same. In the sudden darkness, I heard multiple sets of feet. At least 3 people. Mrs. Foster? A voice called out. Not Tom's voice. Someone younger. We know you're in here. We just want to talk. Danny pulled me toward the back of the floor, toward a door I hadn't noticed. We slipped through into what looked like an old office, windows overlooking the river 30 feet below. There's a fire escape, Danny whispered. On the other side. But before we could move, the office door opened. A man stood silhouetted against the dim light from the main room. He wore a deputy's uniform. Mrs. Foster, please. We really do just want to talk. I'm Deputy Marcus Hall. Sheriff Brennan sent me to find you. Stay back, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Ma'am, your son reported you missing. We've been searching for hours. You're not in trouble. We just need to make sure you're safe. If that's true, why did you bring backup? Why are you sneaking around an abandoned building at night? Hall's expression shifted. In the darkness, I couldn't read it clearly, but something changed in his posture. Because, a woman's voice said from behind him, we needed to make sure you came alone. Vanessa stepped into view. She looked different. Her hair was pulled back severely, her makeup minimal. She wore dark clothing, practical boots. This wasn't the polished real estate agent who sat at my Sunday dinner table. This was someone else entirely. Hello, Alexia, she said pleasantly. I believe my stepson has something that belongs to me. Deputy Hall moved aside, and I saw he had his hand on his weapon. Not drawn, but ready. Danny stepped in front of me. Get away from her. Danny. 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 Vanessa shook her head sadly. You really should have stayed out of this. Rachel said you were sweet but stupid. I'm beginning to think she was right. You killed her, I said. Of course not. I would never do something so messy myself. Her smile was terrible. That's what hired help is for. Unfortunately, Rachel's death was necessary. She got ambitious, thought she could play in the big leagues. She couldn't. And you're going to kill us too? Kill you? Alexia, why would I do that? You're going to sign over your farm to us tonight willingly, with Deputy Hall here as a witness. Then you're going to have a tragic accident on your way home. Elderly woman, driving alone on dark country roads. These things happen. People know we're here. Do they? Your son thinks you went to bed hours ago. The sheriff thinks you're home safe. No one knows about this meeting except the people in this room. She held out her hand. Now give me the thumb drive, and let's make this easy. Danny's hand closed around mine. I felt the small weight of the drive pressed into my palm, and I realized something important that Vanessa had missed. There's just one problem with your plan, I said calmly. Oh? What's that? You think I'm a helpless old woman. You think I've been passively letting this happen to me. But Vanessa, I've been a farmer's wife for 40 years. I've survived drought, flood, economic collapse, and the death of my husband. I've negotiated with banks, fought off developers, and run a business that men twice your age said I couldn't handle. I pulled out my phone, held it up so she could see the screen. It was recording. Had been recording since the moment Danny started talking. And I'm smart enough to document everything. Vanessa's face went white. Deputy Hall reached for his gun. And that's when the real police kicked in the door. Tom Brennan came through that door like an avenging angel. 3 state troopers behind him. The look on his face when he saw Deputy Hall reaching for his weapon was something I'll never forget. Marcus, don't you dare. Tom's voice was steel. Hands where I can see them. Now. Hall froze, then slowly raised his hands. Vanessa tried to bolt for the window, but one of the troopers caught her arm. Let go of me. This is harassment. I came here looking for my mother-in-law, who's clearly unstable and has been making wild accusations. Save it, Tom said. We've been listening to everything for the past 10 minutes. He held up his own phone, showing a live audio feed. Mrs. Foster called me 20 minutes ago, told me exactly where she'd be and what she suspected. We've recorded your entire confession. The rage on Vanessa's face was something inhuman. You stupid old woman. You think you've won? You have no idea what you've done. Take them both in, Tom ordered. Murder conspiracy, fraud, attempted murder, corruption of a public official. Read them their rights. As the troopers led them away, Vanessa turned back to me one last time. This isn't over, Alexia. I have lawyers. Good lawyers. And friends in high places. You'll never prove I killed Rachel. Never. The mill fell silent after they left. Just the river's constant rush and Danny's ragged breathing beside me. Grandma, when did you call the sheriff? In the parking lot before I came in. I texted him from the truck, told him I was meeting you but suspected a trap. Asked him to trace my phone and listen in. I squeezed his hand. I trust Tom. Went to high school with him, remember? He's one of the good ones. Tom came back inside, his face weary. Alexia, you took a hell of a risk. I know, but I needed Vanessa to confess. And she did. She confessed to conspiracy and fraud. But she's right about one thing. We still can't prove she murdered Rachel Morrison. She was careful, used intermediaries. The recording you got tonight helps, but a good defense attorney will argue she was just playing along, trying to protect herself from Hall. What about Deputy Hall? He's already trying to cut a deal. Says Vanessa paid him $50,000 to help file the fraudulent deed and look the other way, but he swears he didn't know anything about the murder. Do you believe him? Tom hesitated. I don't know. Marcus has been on the force for 8 years. Good record until now. But $50,000 can make people do things they never thought they would. Danny held up the thumb drive. Sheriff, there's more evidence on here. Emails, recordings, documents. But some of it's encrypted. Rachel said it was the most important part, but I can't access it. We'll have our forensic team look at it. Maybe they can crack it. Tom looked at me seriously. Alexia, you and Danny need to be very careful over the next few days. If Vanessa has other people working for her, people we don't know about yet, you could still be in danger. I'm not leaving my farm. I figured you'd say that. I'll have a patrol car parked at the end of your driveway tonight. As we left the mill, dawn was breaking over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of rose and gold, beautiful and terrible, like everything that had happened. Danny rode home with me, neither of us speaking much. When we pulled up to the farmhouse, I saw Robert's car already there, parked at an angle like he'd arrived in a hurry. He met us at the door, his face haggard. Mom, Danny, thank God you're both all right. The sheriff called me an hour ago, told me what happened. He looked at his son. Danny, I'm so sorry. I should have seen what Vanessa was doing. I should have protected you both. Dad. No, let me finish. Your mother tried to tell me, tried to warn me that Vanessa was pushing too hard about the farm, but I didn't want to see it. I was weak. I am weak. His voice broke. My wife is a murderer, and I was too blind to notice. I touched his arm gently. Robert, you couldn't have known. Couldn't I? Mom, be honest with me. How many times over the years have I chosen Vanessa over you? How many Sunday dinners did I let her insult you, push you, make you feel small? How many times did I tell you that you were being unreasonable when you were just trying to protect what was yours? The truth sat heavy between us. Too many times. Too many years of choosing peace with his wife over loyalty to his mother. We can't change the past, I said finally. But we can do better going forward. Inside, I made coffee while Robert and Danny sat at the kitchen table. The house felt different now, both violated and reclaimed. Vanessa had been in here, searching through my things, stealing from me. But she'd failed. Mom, I need to ask you something, Robert said. That deed she forged. Is the farm really in danger? I don't know. Tom says his department will help me contest it, but it could take months or years in court. And Vanessa was right about one thing. Montana property law is complicated. If a deed looks legitimate, if it's properly notarized and filed, it can be very hard to undo. I'll testify. I'll tell the court I never authorized that transfer, that I didn't know about it. That might not be enough. You're her husband. They could argue you're just protecting her. Danny cleared his throat. What about the encrypted files on the thumb drive? Maybe there's something in there that proves the deed is fake. Maybe. But we won't know until the forensic team cracks the encryption. I sipped my coffee, thinking, there's something else bothering me. Rachel Morrison worked at county records for 3 years. That's a long time. What if this isn't the first property she and Vanessa targeted? Robert's eyes widened. You think they've done this before? Vanessa is too smooth, too practiced. The way she set everything up, the coded emails, the intermediaries. This feels like a rehearsed plan. We should tell the sheriff. We will. But first, I want to do some research of my own. I stood, heading for my small office off the kitchen. Vanessa mentioned during one of her sales pitches that she'd helped several elderly clients transition out of their properties in the past year. She made it sound benevolent, like she was doing them a favor. I pulled out the file where I'd kept all of Vanessa's brochures and documents. Her real estate company was called Summit Properties, and according to her business card, she'd been the top seller for 3 years running. Danny, can you search for property transfers in this county over the past 2 years? Focus on farms and large parcels sold by elderly owners? He pulled out his laptop, fingers flying over the keys. Grandma, do you really think? I think Vanessa is smarter and more dangerous than any of us realized. And I think Rachel Morrison wasn't her first accomplice. 20 minutes later, Danny had a list. 11 properties, all farms or ranches, all sold within the past 18 months, all originally owned by people over 65. Now cross-reference that with obituaries, I said quietly. The silence that followed was thick with dread. Danny's face went pale as he read the screen. Grandma, 4 of those people died within 6 months of selling their property. 2 car accidents. 1 fall at home. 1 heart attack. Robert stood abruptly, his chair scraping the floor. No, that's too many. That can't be coincidence. It's not. My voice was calm, but inside I was shaking. Vanessa's been doing this for years. Target elderly property owners, forge documents or manipulate them into signing. Wait a few months, then arrange accidents. We have to tell Tom. Now. But before we could move, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered carefully. Hello? Mrs. Foster? A woman's voice, unfamiliar. My name is Jennifer Tate. I'm an attorney with the firm of Morrison, Westfield and Chase. I represent Vanessa Foster. My stomach dropped. That was fast. What do you want? I'm calling to inform you that my client is being released on bail this morning. She maintains her complete innocence in all charges and will be vigorously defending herself. She confessed. We have recordings. You have recordings of a frightened woman trying to placate what she believed to be a corrupt police officer. Context matters, Mrs. Foster. Now, I'm calling as a courtesy to inform you that we will be filing a civil suit against you for defamation, emotional distress, and false imprisonment. We're seeking damages in the amount of $5 million. That's absurd. Is it? You've publicly accused my client of murder, conspiracy, and fraud. You've damaged her reputation, her business, and her emotional well-being. Unless you're prepared to retract all accusations and issue a public apology, we will proceed with the suit. I'll do no such thing. Then you leave us no choice. You'll be served with papers within 24 hours. And Mrs. Foster, I should mention that we've also filed a competency hearing. Given your age and recent erratic behavior, we believe a court-appointed guardian should evaluate whether you're capable of managing your own affairs. The line went dead. I stood there, the phone cooling against my ear, understanding the full scope of what Vanessa had planned. She wasn't just trying to steal my property. She was trying to have me declared incompetent, unable to manage my own life. Mom? Robert's voice seemed distant. What did they say? They're coming after me. Not just criminal defense for Vanessa, but a civil suit and a competency hearing. I met his eyes. If they succeed with the competency claim, the court could appoint Vanessa or someone she controls as my guardian. And then she controls everything. Danny finished. Your property, your money, your healthcare decisions, everything. The weight of it pressed down on me. I'd thought we'd won at the mill. I'd thought recording Vanessa's confession would be enough. But I'd underestimated her again. She had resources, lawyers, plans within plans. When's the hearing? Robert asked. She didn't say, but with lawyers like Morrison, Westfield, and Chase, they can probably expedite it. We might have less than a week. We'll fight it. We'll get you the best lawyer. With what money, Robert? I have some savings, but not enough to fight a firm like that. They'll bury us in motions and delays and legal fees until I can't afford to fight anymore. The front door opened. Tom Brennan walked in without knocking, his face grave. Alexia, we have a problem. Another one? The forensic team tried to access that thumb drive. The encrypted files? They're protected by military-grade encryption. It could take months to crack, maybe longer. What about the files Danny could access? The emails and recordings? Good evidence, but circumstantial. Vanessa's lawyers are already claiming she was being blackmailed by Rachel, that all those emails were sent under duress. Without the encrypted files, we don't have enough to guarantee a conviction on the murder charge. So she might walk. Worse than that. The judge just set her bail at $200,000. Her lawyer posted it an hour ago. Vanessa's out. Danny moved to the window, looking out at the driveway. She could come here. I've got a restraining order in place, Tom said. She's not allowed within 500 yards of this property. But Alexia, you need to understand something. If we can't crack that encryption, if we can't prove she was involved in Rachel's murder, the best we can hope for is fraud charges. Maybe 3 to 5 years. She'd be out in 2 with good behavior. And the farm? The deed issue is civil court, separate from the criminal case. That could drag on for years. In the meantime, technically, according to that recorded document, the property belongs to Robert and Vanessa jointly. Robert shook his head violently. I'll sign it back. I'll refuse any claim. It's not that simple. Vanessa owns half. She could force a partition sale, make the court order the property sold and the proceeds divided. You'd lose the farm either way. I walked to the window, looking out at the land I'd lived on my entire life. The barn where Frank taught Danny to ride. The strawberry patch now buried under winter snow. The fields that had fed us through good years and bad. There has to be something in those encrypted files, I said. Something Rachel thought was important enough to hide behind military-grade encryption. Something that Vanessa is afraid of. We're working on it, Tom said. But I can't make promises. After he left, the 3 of us sat in silence. Outside, the patrol car Tom had promised pulled up, parking at the end of the driveway. Protection, or a reminder that we were prisoners in our own home. My phone buzzed. A text from another unknown number. Stop now, Alexia. Sign over the farm, drop the charges, and I'll let you live in peace. Keep fighting, and you'll lose everything, including people you love. You have 24 hours to decide. I showed it to Robert and Danny. Both their faces went white. That's a direct threat, Robert said. We need to show this to the sheriff. It won't matter. The number's probably a burner phone, untraceable. I set the phone down carefully. She's escalating, getting desperate. Or confident, Danny said quietly. Grandma, what if she's already won? What if she knows something we don't? The question hung in the air, poisonous and possible. What if Vanessa had already found a way to access those encrypted files? What if she'd destroyed the evidence we needed? What if Rachel Morrison had been her partner and her victim, but also her insurance policy, and Vanessa had found a way to nullify it? I looked at my grandson's frightened face, at my son's defeated posture, and felt something harden inside me. Then we find another way, I said. We dig deeper. We be smarter. We stop reacting to what Vanessa does and start anticipating it. How? By thinking like her. She's a predator who's been doing this for years. She's careful, methodical, patient. But she's also arrogant. She thinks she's smarter than everyone else. That's her weakness. Grandma, she might be right. She's gotten away with this multiple times. No, she's gotten away with it because no one was looking closely enough. Because her victims were isolated, vulnerable, alone. I stood, feeling strength flow back into my limbs. But I'm not alone. I have you too. I have Tom. And I have something Vanessa doesn't. What's that? Time, memory, and the knowledge that comes from having lived 6 decades on this earth, watching people, learning their patterns. I looked at them both. Vanessa wants me to panic. She wants me to make mistakes, to act rashly. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to be patient, methodical, and I'm going to find out every single secret she's been hiding. Where do we start? I thought about it. With Rachel Morrison's past. She didn't just appear out of nowhere 3 years ago when she started working at County Records. She had a life before that. Family, friends, history. The police are already investigating that. I know, but we're going to investigate it differently. We're going to find out who Rachel really was and why she was willing to help Vanessa hurt people. Because people don't become accomplices to murder without a reason. Danny opened his laptop again. I'll start searching. As he worked, I walked through the house room by room, seeing it with new eyes. This was my territory, my home, my history, and I would not let Vanessa take it from me. It took Danny 3 hours to find Rachel Morrison's real name. She'd changed it legally 7 years ago. Before that, she was Bet Hartley, born in Billings, raised in a small town called Red Lodge. Her grandmother, Martha Hartley, had owned a 200-acre ranch there. Had owned. Past tense. Grandma, look at this. Danny turned his laptop so I could see. A newspaper article from 6 years ago. Martha Hartley's ranch was sold to a development company. 6 months later, Martha died in a house fire at the rental property where she'd moved. Who bought the ranch? A holding company called Summit Development Group. The name hit me like a fist. Summit. The same name as Vanessa's real estate company. It's her, Robert said, reading over my shoulder. Vanessa did this before. She stole Rachel's grandmother's property. But why would Rachel help her? Danny asked. If Vanessa destroyed her grandmother's life, why would Rachel become her accomplice? I studied the article more carefully. There was a photo of Martha Hartley, a woman about my age, smiling in front of a barn. And next to her, a teenage girl, Rachel, before she'd changed her name. Look at the date, I said. Martha died 6 years ago. Rachel changed her name 7 years ago, before her grandmother's death. She wasn't running from Vanessa. She was working with her. The implications settled over us like a shroud. Rachel helped Vanessa steal from her own grandmother, Robert whispered. And probably helped kill her, I added. That's why she was so good at this. She'd done it before, to her own family. But then she got greedy, tried to blackmail Vanessa, and Vanessa eliminated her. Danny was already searching deeper. There are 2 other properties Summit Development bought around the same time, both from elderly owners. Both owners died within a year of selling. 3 murders minimum, possibly more. I stood, pacing. This is bigger than we thought. Vanessa's been running this scheme for at least 6 years. We need to tell Tom, Robert said, reaching for his phone. Wait. I grabbed his wrist. If we tell Tom now, he files a report, starts an official investigation. That could take months. Meanwhile, Vanessa's lawyers have us tied up in civil court. The competency hearing moves forward, and we lose the farm. So what do? We use what we know. We force Vanessa to make a mistake. I looked at the clock. 6 hours had passed since the text message threatening us. 18 hours left on her ultimatum. Danny, can you access Summit Development's corporate records? Maybe. They should be public filings, but I'll need time. We don't have time. Can you do it or not? His fingers were already flying across the keyboard. I can try. While he worked, I called Tom. Alexia, are you all right? I'm fine. Tom, I need a favor. The competency hearing Vanessa's lawyers filed. When is it scheduled? Tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m. They expedited it, claimed you were a danger to yourself and others. 24 hours. Less time than I'd thought. Who's the judge? Harold Winters. I knew that name. Judge Winters had ruled on property disputes in this county for 15 years. Tough but fair. I'd met him once at a charity auction, years ago. Can you get me a meeting with him before the hearing? Alexia, that's highly irregular. His clerk would never... Tom, please. I'm not asking you to influence him. I just need 10 minutes to present some information. Information that's relevant to the case. He was silent for a long moment. What kind of information? The kind that proves Vanessa Foster has been systematically defrauding and murdering elderly property owners for at least 6 years. The kind that shows this competency hearing is just another tool in her arsenal. Do you have proof? I will by tomorrow morning. Will you help me? Another pause. I'll make a call. No promises. Danny looked up from his laptop, his face pale. Grandma, I got into the Summit Development records. You need to see this. The screen showed a web of shell companies and holding corporations, all leading back to one name, Vanessa Marie Foster. But there was another name buried in the paperwork, listed as a silent partner, Peter Mitchell, the lawyer Robert had brought to the police station. Oh no, Robert breathed. Mitchell is working with her. He was never my lawyer. He was hers. He was there to observe, I said, understanding flooding through me. to see how much we knew, what evidence we had. And then he reported back to Vanessa. Danny clicked through more documents. There's more. Webb's law firm is listed as the legal representative for all of Summit Development's property acquisitions. He's been part of this from the beginning, which means every word we said in that police station, every piece of evidence we discussed, Vanessa knew about within hours. Robert sank into a chair. I led him right to you. I thought I was protecting you, but I gave her everything. You didn't know. I should have known. Mom, I should have seen who Vanessa really was. All those years, all those warning signs. Robert, stop. We don't have time for guilt. We need to focus. I turned to Danny. Can you print all of this? Every document showing the connection between Vanessa, Webb, and Summit Development? Already doing it. My phone rang. Unknown number again. I answered on speaker. Hello, Alexia. Vanessa's voice was smooth, confident. I assume you've received my message. I did. And your decision? I'm still considering it. Let me help you decide. I'm sitting in my attorney's office right now, looking at some very interesting documents. Do you know what a power of attorney form is, Alexia? My blood ran cold. Among the papers I've filed with the court is a power of attorney that you signed 3 months ago. It gives me complete control over your financial and medical decisions if you're deemed incompetent. Which, after tomorrow's hearing, you will be. I never signed any such thing. Your signature says otherwise. Notarized and witnessed. Very official. And once the judge sees how confused you are, elderly woman making wild accusations of murder, claiming conspiracies, behaving erratically, he'll have no choice but to appoint a guardian. Probably me, since I'm family and I already have power of attorney. The judge will see through you. Will he? Judge Winters is a reasonable man. He'll see a concerned daughter-in-law trying to help her aging mother-in-law, who's clearly suffering from paranoid delusions. He'll see police reports of you luring people to abandoned buildings in the middle of the night. He'll see you making unfounded accusations against me, a respected businesswoman with an impeccable reputation. Your reputation is built on fraud and murder. Prove it. Her voice turned sharp. You have nothing, Alexia. Those encrypted files. My people accessed them 2 days ago. Everything incriminating has been deleted. The thumb drive Danny has is worthless. Danny's eyes widened, but I kept my voice steady. If that's true, why are you calling? Because I'm giving you one last chance to do this the easy way. Sign over the farm, drop all charges. Admit you've been confused and stressed. Do that, and I'll let you live out your remaining years in a nice facility. You'll be comfortable, safe, cared for. And if I refuse? Then after tomorrow's hearing, when I have power of attorney, I'll have you committed to a psychiatric facility for evaluation. It happens all the time with elderly people who become delusional. The evaluations can take months. Meanwhile, I'll sell the farm, liquidate your assets, and there won't be anything left for you to fight for. You'll spend whatever time you have left in an institution, while your precious land becomes a subdivision called Meadowbrook Estates. She'd thought of everything, every angle, every possibility, except one. Vanessa, can I ask you something? What? Did Rachel beg before you killed her? Silence on the line, long and cold. I didn't kill Rachel. I would never. Save it. I know about Martha Hartley, Rachel's grandmother. I know about the ranch in Red Lodge, about Summit Development, about all of it. Rachel learned from the best. She watched you destroy her grandmother, and she joined you. But then she wanted more, and you couldn't allow that. You can't prove any of this. Can I? I have corporate documents linking you to Summit Development. I have property records showing a pattern of elderly victims. I have recordings of you admitting to conspiracy. And I have something else, Vanessa. Something you don't know about. What? Rachel gave Danny a backup of those encrypted files. The real backup, not the thumb drive. She was smarter than you thought. She hid it somewhere even you couldn't find it. It was a bluff, a complete bluff. But I heard the change in Vanessa's breathing. You're lying. Am I? Rachel told Danny that if anything happened to her, he should look in the place where it all began, the place where she first met you. Do you know where that is, Vanessa? Because Danny does. Another pause. Even if that were true, you'd never get into those files. The encryption is military grade. unless you have the password, which Rachel gave to Danny before she died. I don't believe you. Then why are you still on the phone? Why not just hang up and proceed with your plan? I let that sink in. You're afraid, Vanessa. Afraid that for once someone was smarter than you. That Rachel played you just as well as you played everyone else. This conversation is over. No, it's not. Because I'm going to that hearing tomorrow, and I'm going to bring every piece of evidence I have. Every document, every recording, every connection to your past victims, and I'm going to present it all to Judge Winters, not as the confused old woman you think I am, but as someone who has spent the past week becoming an expert in your crimes. The judge won't allow it. It's a competency hearing, not a criminal trial. Then we'll see, won't we? 2 p.m. tomorrow. I'll be there. Will you? I hung up before she could respond. Robert was staring at me. Mom, was any of that true? Does Danny really have a backup? No, but Vanessa doesn't know that. You just declared war on her. No, Robert. She declared war on me the moment she forged my signature. I'm just finishing it. I looked at Danny. How much time do you need to find out where Rachel and Vanessa first met? Grandma, I don't even know where to start. Yes, you do. Rachel worked at County Records. That's where Vanessa would have recruited her. Find out when Rachel started that job, look at what properties Vanessa was selling at that time, and cross-reference it with Rachel's background. There's a connection. There has to be. Danny's fingers flew across the keyboard. 10 minutes later, he found it. The Red Lodge Ranch, Martha Hartley's property. It was listed by Summit Properties 6 years ago. The listing agent was Vanessa Foster, and the transaction was recorded at county records by, he looked up, eyes wide, by Bet Hartley. That was her first week on the job. That's where they met, where Vanessa recruited her, or where they finalized their plan together. I grabbed my coat. We need to go there, now. Mom, it's 9 at night. That ranch has probably been developed, torn down. Or it hasn't. Either way, we need to look. If there's any chance Rachel hid evidence there, we have to find it before Vanessa does. Tom called back. Alexia, Judge Winters will give you 15 minutes tomorrow at 1 p.m. Before the hearing. But that's all. Don't make me regret this. I won't. Thank you, Tom. We took my truck, all 3 of us, with the patrol car following at a distance. The drive to Red Lodge took 90 minutes, through dark mountain roads and small towns already asleep. The ranch was still there. Not developed. Not torn down. Just abandoned. The house was a burnt-out shell, exactly as the newspaper had described it. But the barn still stood, weathered and leaning but intact. Why would Vanessa keep this? Robert wondered. Why not tear it down and build? Because she couldn't, Danny said, checking his phone. The property is tied up in legal disputes. Martha Hartley's will left everything to Rachel, but Rachel disclaimed the inheritance. Then Martha's other relatives contested it. It's been in probate court for 6 years. So no one could touch it, I said. Which means if Rachel hid something here, it's been safe all this time. We approached the barn carefully. The doors hung open, creaking in the wind. Inside, it smelled of old hay and decay. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness, finding empty stalls, broken equipment, shadows. Where would she hide it? Danny asked. I thought about Rachel Morrison, a young woman who'd helped destroy her own grandmother, who'd learned to be ruthless and calculating. Where would someone like that hide her insurance? Somewhere personal, I said. Somewhere that meant something. Danny, you said Rachel and her grandmother were close before the betrayal? According to the articles, yes. Martha raised Rachel after her parents died. I moved deeper into the barn, searching. There, in the back corner, a horse stall with a name carved into the wood. Starlight. That was Rachel's horse, Danny said, checking his phone. There's a photo in one of the articles. Rachel riding a gray mare named Starlight. I knelt down, running my hands along the stall boards. One was loose. Behind it, wrapped in waterproof plastic, was a small metal box. Inside the box was another thumb drive and a handwritten note. If you're reading this, I'm probably dead. Vanessa Foster killed my grandmother and made me help her. I've been collecting evidence ever since, waiting for the right moment. This drive contains everything, Unedited recordings, original documents, proof of every crime. The password is Starlight9997. Use it to stop her. Rachel. 1997, Danny whispered. The year Rachel was born. We had it. Real evidence. Unencrypted. Everything we needed. And then we heard the sound of cars approaching. Multiple cars, fast. They followed us, Robert said, looking out the barn door. Vanessa must have had someone watching us. 3 vehicles pulled up outside, their headlights blinding. Doors opened. Figures emerged. Vanessa stood in the center, flanked by Peter Mitchell and 2 men I didn't recognize. Large men. Not lawyers. Alexia! Her voice echoed in the night. You're trespassing on private property. That's illegal. Whatever you found in there belongs to the estate. This estate belongs to Rachel Morrison, I called back. And she left instructions. Rachel is dead. I'm the executor of her estate now. Hand over whatever you found. I don't think so. Mitchell stepped forward. Mrs. Foster, we can have you arrested right now. Sheriff Brennan's patrol car is gone. We sent them on a false emergency call 20 miles from here. You're alone. You're outnumbered. And you're holding stolen property. I looked at the metal box in my hands, at the thumb drive that could end Vanessa's empire. And I smiled. You're right about one thing, Mr. Mitchell. Sheriff Brennan's patrol car is gone. But you're wrong about me being alone. I pulled out my phone and hit send on the video I'd been streaming live for the past 10 minutes. Streaming directly to Tom's phone, to the state police, and to 3 local news stations. I've been broadcasting everything, I said calmly. Every word you've said, every threat you've made. And now thousands of people are watching you, Vanessa. Watching you admit to being executor of Rachel's estate, an estate you shouldn't have any connection to if you're innocent. Watching you threaten us on this property. Watching you bring muscle to intimidate an elderly woman. Vanessa's face went white in the headlights. You can take this thumb drive from me, I continued, but it won't matter. Because in exactly 5 minutes my grandson is uploading the complete contents to cloud storage, with copies going to the FBI, state police, and every news outlet in Montana. It's over, Vanessa. You lost. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Vanessa stared at me across the dark ground, and I saw something break in her eyes. The calculation, the confidence, the certainty that she was always the smartest person in the room. She ran. Mitchell and the other men scattered, racing for their vehicles. But the police were already blocking the road, Tom's cruiser leading a convoy of state troopers. I stood there, holding the metal box, watching them take Vanessa down. She fought, screaming threats and accusations, but they handcuffed her anyway. Tom walked over to me, shaking his head. Alexia, that was the riskiest, most foolish, bravest thing I've ever seen. I learned from the best, I said, thinking of Frank, of 63 years of life teaching me when to fold and when to go all in. The live stream? He asked. Danny's idea. Started recording the moment we got out of the truck. Tom laughed, actually laughed. You know, you probably just caused a dozen legal complications for the prosecutors. But we got her. Clean. With evidence she can't deny. He took the metal box gently. We'll take this into custody. Get it processed properly. But Alexia, thank you. You just helped us close maybe a dozen cold cases. As they led Vanessa away, she looked back at me one last time. No words, just a long stare. And I stared right back, unblinking until she was gone. The competency hearing was canceled. Judge Winters called me personally the morning after Vanessa's arrest to apologize for the court's time and to commend me on what he called exceptional civic courage. The power of attorney documents were revealed to be forgeries, just like the property deed. Vanessa's entire legal strategy crumbled the moment the forensic team verified Rachel's evidence. That thumb drive contained 6 years of meticulous record-keeping. Rachel had documented everything. Recordings of conversations with Vanessa plotting against victims, copies of forged signatures, financial records showing payments to corrupt officials, even video of Vanessa admitting to arranging her grandmother's death. Rachel Morrison had been many things: accomplice, manipulator, murderer. But in the end, she'd also been a woman who knew she was in too deep. who'd tried to create a way out, and who'd paid for her crimes with her life. The investigation expanded rapidly. Within 3 days, the FBI had identified 11 victims across Montana and Wyoming. Elderly property owners who'd been systematically defrauded and, in 4 cases, murdered. Peter Mitchell was arrested, along with Deputy Hall and 2 other corrupt officials. The district attorney called it the largest elder fraud case in state history. Vanessa Foster was denied bail after her second hearing. The judge cited flight risk and the severity of the charges: 4 counts of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, forgery, and a dozen other charges. Her trial was set for 6 months out, but her lawyers were already negotiating plea deals. With Rachel's evidence, they had no real defense. I didn't feel triumph exactly. Maybe I should have. But mostly I felt tired and sad for all the lives Vanessa had destroyed in her pursuit of money and property that would never have been enough. 2 weeks after Vanessa's arrest, Robert filed for divorce. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten 1,000 Sunday dinners, and I watched my son sign the papers with shaking hands. I should have known, he said for perhaps the 100th time. All those years, I should have seen who she really was. Robert, she fooled a lot of people. Prosecutors, investigators, business partners. You can't blame yourself for not seeing through a professional predator. But I chose her over you. So many times. Every time you tried to warn me, every time you said something felt wrong, I dismissed it. I made you feel like you were the problem. You were trying to keep your marriage together. That's not a crime. He looked up at me, his eyes red. She tried to have you killed, Mom. My wife. The woman I shared a bed with for 20 years. She murdered people for their land and I never suspected. What does that say about me? It says you're human. It says you wanted to believe the best of someone you loved. That's not weakness, Robert. That's hope. Misplaced hope. Maybe. But you found your strength when it mattered. You stood with Danny and me when we needed you. You didn't run. You didn't hide. That counts for something. He wiped his eyes. I want to make it up to you. However long it takes. Then start by forgiving yourself. And by being a better father to Danny. He needs you now more than ever. Danny was struggling. The revelation that Rachel had been using him, that their entire relationship had been a manipulation, had hit him hard. He'd taken a semester off from college, was seeing a therapist twice a week, and was slowly learning to trust again. He spent most of his time at the farm with me. We worked together in the barn, repaired fences, planned for spring planting. He didn't talk much about Rachel, but sometimes I'd catch him staring at nothing, lost in thoughts he couldn't share. One afternoon in early March, as we were cleaning out the storage shed, he finally opened up. Grandma, do you think I'm stupid? What? Of course not. Why would you ask that? Because I fell for it. All of it. Rachel told me she loved me, and I believed her. She said she wanted to help you, and I gave her everything she needed to destroy you. I was just a tool, a useful idiot. I set down the rake I'd been holding and sat beside him on an old hay bale. Danny, you're 19 years old. You believed someone you cared about was telling you the truth. That's not stupidity. That's innocence. And there's nothing wrong with innocence. But I should have seen the signs. Rachel was trained by Vanessa, who'd been perfecting this con for years. She knew exactly how to manipulate people, how to gain trust, how to exploit emotions. Even experienced investigators fell for it. You're not weak for being fooled by a professional manipulator. Then why do I feel so stupid? Because pain makes us question everything, including ourselves. But Danny, you also saved my life. You saw through Rachel's plan at the critical moment. You warned me about the red coat. You kept that thumb drive safe. You helped expose Vanessa's entire operation. Those aren't the actions of a stupid person. He was quiet for a long moment. I miss her sometimes. Is that crazy? I know what she was, what she did. But sometimes I miss the person I thought she was. That's not crazy. That's grief. You're mourning the relationship you thought you had, the future you imagined. That's a real loss. Even if the relationship was built on lies. How do you stop missing something that never really existed? Time, patience, and the knowledge that you deserve something real. Someone real. And someday, when you're ready, you'll find that. He leaned against my shoulder, and I held him like I had when he was small, and the world seemed too big and frightening. The legal battle over the farm took another month to resolve. The forged deed was officially nullified. All of Vanessa's fraudulent claims were thrown out. The property remained mine, clear and free, just as it had been for 4 generations. But more than that, the county prosecutor filed liens against all of Vanessa's assets to compensate her victims' families. Her house, her cars, her business. Everything was seized. Summit Properties was dissolved, and its holdings were sold to pay restitution. I attended one of the restitution hearings. There were families there, people who'd lost parents and grandparents to Vanessa's schemes, an elderly man who'd lost his wife, a woman my age who'd lost her sister. We didn't speak much, but we shared something, the knowledge that we'd survived, that justice had been slow but had finally arrived. One woman approached me afterward. She was about 50, with kind eyes and graying hair. "Mrs. Foster? I'm Catherine Wells. My mother was Martha Hartley, Rachel's aunt." I shook her hand carefully. "I'm so sorry for your loss. Both of them. Thank you. I wanted you to know. I'm glad you stopped her. My mother deserved better than what happened to her." "And Rachel?" Her voice caught. "Rachel was a good kid once. Before Vanessa got her hooks in, I think about who Rachel might have become if she'd never met that woman. Your niece saved my life in the end. The evidence she collected, the backup she created, without that, Vanessa might still be free. Rachel always was thorough. Even when she was doing terrible things, she was methodical about it." Catherine smiled sadly. Maybe that was her way of trying to maintain some control. Some dignity. I don't know. I'll never know. We stood there together, 2 women who'd lost people to Vanessa's greed, and I felt a connection I couldn't quite name. Survivor's bond, maybe. Or just the understanding that comes from shared pain. Spring came to Montana with the usual dramatic flair. Snow one day, sunshine the next, the land slowly waking from its winter sleep. I planted the strawberry patch again, twice as big as before. Danny helped me, and we didn't talk about that summer when he was 7. We didn't need to. The work itself was the conversation. Robert came for Sunday dinners again. Just him now, no Vanessa. The meals were quieter, simpler, but more honest. We talked about small things. Weather, crops, Danny's plans to return to college in the fall. We were learning how to be a family again, without the poison that had been seeping through us for years. Tom stopped by one afternoon in April with news. Vanessa took a plea deal. Life in prison without parole, in exchange for testimony against the others involved in her schemes. She'll never get out? Never. And with her testimony, we've identified 3 more corrupt officials and 2 other accomplices we didn't know about. The whole network is coming down. I served him coffee, and we sat on the porch, watching the mountains turn purple in the evening light. "You know," Tom said, "you could have been killed. Multiple times during this whole mess. What you did was incredibly dangerous." "I know, but you did it anyway." "I did it because I had to. Because sometimes being safe means losing everything that matters. And I decided I'd rather fight and risk dying than hide and lose my life anyway. That's the Alexia I remember from high school. Stubborn as a mule and twice as tough." I laughed. Frank used to say the same thing. He was a smart man. Tom stood, stretching. "You take care of yourself, Alexia. And if you ever need anything, I know where to find you. Thank you, Tom, for believing me, for helping when it mattered." After he left, I sat alone on the porch as darkness settled over the farm. The land stretched out before me, familiar and precious, earned again through struggle and persistence. I thought about all the women like me, elderly, dismissed, underestimated, who'd fallen victim to people like Vanessa. Women who'd built lives and raised families and earned their places in the world, only to have someone decide they were easier to steal from than to respect. But I also thought about the strength that comes from living 63 years, the wisdom accumulated through seasons of loss and seasons of plenty, the understanding that patience is a weapon, that silence can be strategy, and that age is not weakness, but rather the distillation of everything you've learned about survival. Vanessa had been wrong about so many things, but her biggest mistake was thinking that being older meant being helpless. She saw my age and assumed vulnerability. She saw my kindness and assumed weakness. She saw my quiet life and assumed I had nothing to fight for. She never understood that people who've lived longer have learned more, have survived more, have developed instincts sharpened by decades of navigating a world that doesn't always play fair. Danny came out onto the porch with 2 mugs of hot chocolate, just like I used to make him when he was small. "Penny for your thoughts?" he asked. "Just thinking about getting older, about what it means." "What does it mean?" "It means you've earned the right to be underestimated, and the satisfaction of proving everyone wrong." I sipped the chocolate. "It means you've learned that the loudest person in the room isn't always the strongest, that patience outlasts aggression, that wisdom beats arrogance." "You sound like a fortune cookie," Danny teased gently. "I sound like someone who just spent 3 weeks outsmarting a woman half her age who thought she was the smartest person in Montana." He laughed, and the sound was good, healing. We sat together as stars began to appear, scattered across the darkening sky like seeds waiting to grow. The farm was quiet around us, solid and permanent, a testament to the people who'd worked this land and refused to let it go. In the barn, I'd hung my red coat on a hook. I couldn't bring myself to wear it again, not after what had happened, but I also couldn't throw it away. It was evidence of how close I'd come to losing everything. A reminder that vigilance matters, that trust must be earned, and that sometimes a warning from someone you love is the difference between life and death. Tomorrow, I'd start preparing the fields for planting. Robert was coming over to help fix the irrigation system. Danny was going to repaint the barn. We had work to do, the kind of honest labor that builds rather than destroys, that creates rather than steals. And in 6 months, I'd sit in a courtroom and watch Vanessa Foster be sentenced to life in prison. I'd look her in the eye one final time and let her see that I was still standing, still here, still fighting for every day on this land that was mine by right and by resilience. But tonight, I just sat with my grandson and watched the darkness settle over Montana, feeling the deep satisfaction of having survived something that was meant to destroy me. The farm was safe, my family was healing, and I had learned something Vanessa would never understand. Real strength doesn't come from manipulation or money or calculated cruelty. It comes from knowing who you are, what you value, and what you're willing to fight for. It comes from the patience to wait for the right moment and the courage to act when that moment arrives. It comes from living long enough to learn that wisdom is the ultimate power, and that age is not a weakness to be exploited, but a fortress built from decades of surviving everything life throws at you. I was 63 years old. I had buried a husband, raised a son, survived a murder attempt, and defeated a serial killer who'd made the fatal mistake of thinking I was too old to fight back. And I was just getting started. The strawberry patch would bloom again this summer. Danny would be there to help me harvest it. And we'd eat strawberries until we got sick, just like we did when he was 7, because that's what survivors do. They remember the good times. They rebuild what was broken. They plant seeds for future harvests. And they never, ever give up their ground without a fight. Now tell me, what would you have done if you were in my place? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out the video on your screen right now. I'm sure it will surprise you.